Hi everyone, and welcome to Mini Lecture 20. Today we'll be discussing the scholarly database CQ Researcher. Before we begin, take a moment to gather the materials for the lecture assignment. You'll need a blank Word document to do some writing and access to your current project draft materials. Let's first discuss the focus of CQ Researcher and what sets it apart from other databases. CQ, or Congressional Quarterly Researcher, explores a single hot issue in the news each week, covering 44 topics, including expanded reports. Especially useful for pro-con presentation of issues currently being discussed. This is an excellent place for students to search for term paper topics, and I could not agree more. CQ Researcher is especially helpful if the topic that you are researching on happens to be considered a current event, so something that is experiencing a widely viewed ongoing public discussion. So a lot of the time we equate that with hearing a lot about it in the media and getting constant updates regarding that topic and the discussion surrounding it. So if you are exploring a topic that has more recent development or has kind of gained new life in public discussion, chances are strong that CQ Researcher will have recent publications that will discuss that topic in greater detail. Now, what's also great about CQ Researcher, especially as you start to explore and expand upon the topic that you're interested in, is that it begins by basically providing the pro-con or the extremes of the perspective binary. So it'll give you a good idea of what the spectrum of the discussion looks like, or at least what the ends of that spectrum of the discussion look like. So if you are researching a more current event, and it doesn't matter if it's science-related, art-related, policy, education, they really cover all topics. So it's not just limited to what's going on politically or socially, but really you can find a wide variety of topics available on CQ Researcher. So let's take a look at that database then. So right now I am on the DSU Library homepage, and in order to navigate to CQ Researcher, I want to go to this left-hand column here and click on Article Databases. Because of how this site is built out, I could very reasonably click on these first 4 links and find CQ Researcher. But I just find it easier to go to the general multi-subject list for this specific database. And in fact, you can see it is our 4th option here. Okay, so now we are on their homepage, and we can already see that we've got a number of different options, of different topics, categories that we can search. So we could browse by topic, so again, we can see that pop-down menu there. We can also look at the hot topics. We can either go all or most viewed. So if you're writing on something like immigration or opioid addiction or LGBT rights, and you know that that is considered a current event, you probably can bypass a lot of the searching features and just go straight to this most viewed column. Or if you can say, oh yeah, what I'm looking for is still, a hot topic, you can explore the other options in this column. So let's go to energy policy. Let's see what that brings us. Okay, so you can see here that we've got a number of articles from within the last few weeks. So you can see here, this one was published July 19th. Now, one thing that I do want to point out with CQ Researcher is that rather than serving as a type of silo, if you will, for articles published in academic journals, CQ Researcher will actually seek out, independent writers who are experts in the field. So a lot of the times you'll see that, you know, these are former government officials or have had some kind of experience working in the field or extensive experience working in the field that they are writing on. But of course you can go through, if you're trying to establish the ethos or the credibility of the writer, you can always perform a brief Google search just to ensure that the information that you are getting is of expert quality. So it's very straightforward, incorporates a number of graphics that really help to better contextualize the information, and I find make it a little bit easier to read, a little bit easier to sift through than a more traditional academic article. Also, as they go along, they provide links to their different citations. So if you're going along here and you say, hey, this, you know, is a really interesting quote, I want to know where the author got it from, you can click on it and you can find at least the footnote citation, or if you want to go here, you can just, again, see where they're getting their citations from. And then, of course, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, so you can also see the chronology or the development over time of a topic. And so that'll kind of provide you the history and the context of the topic that you are reading on and will perhaps later be writing on. And then, of course, you have the footnotes or the citations. So again, if you go through and you're like, hey, that's a really interesting statistic, or that's a cool quote that the writer has included, you just click on the footnote provided in the actual text itself, and you will have the option to come down to the bottom of the page and basically get the full citation. So that's how we can find information on CQ Researcher using the menus and the kind of keywords and hot topics that they've identified. But what if we want to look into something a bit more specific? So I went to the top page here, and rather than just going search by keyword, I did advanced search. So let's say I want to do solar panels, right? So we can narrow it down. So rather than any time, so let's say I want solar panel articles between, let's go 2006 to 2018. See what we find. I can also select my topic area. So if I want to do environment, climate, and natural resources, maybe I'm not settled on solar panels. Maybe I just want to explore a specific area. So I can click on that and see what the results bring me. I can also, if I want to, identify the specific sections or the specific types of documents that I want to pull from. So if I just want to read the introductions, it'll just provide me the introductions. If all I want to see is the chronology or the pro-con aspect of it, it'll bring me that as well. And so I really can pick and choose the type of results that I get based off of the information that I'm looking for and the type of work that I need in order to inform the project that I'm working on at that point. So let's just hit search and see what comes up. Okay, so again, you can see that we've got a number of results here. So you want to be careful because you can see that even though we typed in solar panels, we're getting things on fighting gangs, Greek life on campus, so we're getting articles that aren't necessarily relevant to what we're discussing or what we initially searched for. So as you go through, you know, it's just important to kind of keep an eye out on that. However, let's go to solar energy controversies. Okay, so this is a very well-developed piece of writing. We've got a lot of content here that we can use to inform our understandings of solar energy and perhaps inform an argument. So as we go through, we can either go just to the introduction. That provides us a brief overview, and you can see how it physically limits the page rather than jumping on the expanded report itself. Or we could talk about current situation. And similar to the other article that we looked at, again, we can find those citations in the text. We can click on it, and if we want more information, we can go to the footnotes. So what I also think is pretty cool about CQ Researcher is it allows you to isolate the visuals and the graphics that are used. So for example, going through and, you probably, you'll notice that there are probably a lot of great, maps, visuals, infographics, whatever, that you could use and reference in your own writing. Well, if you don't want to sift through all the written text, you can just go over to maps/graphs and you can get that information and that content fairly quickly and easily. So we can even go to the right-hand side here, and we can look at the issue tracker for related reports. So if I want to expand my understanding of solar panels and see how it applies to other ongoing discussions, I could very easily click on one of these. So if I wanted to look more into wind power, let's say, okay, so we see another very well-developed article, a little older. So the one that we were looking at on wind or on solar was in 2016, and it looks like this one was published in 2011. But all the same, you can see how you can definitely start to locate more information related to the topic you initially searched just from the page that you're on. Now, as you go through and assess the author ethos, you can certainly go through and read the About the Author section. So, Kevin Bigos is a freelance journalist who writes about science, energy, and the environment. He is contributor to a field guide for science writers and a former Associated Press correspondent, Knight Science Journalism Fellow at MIT, and Environmental Law Fellow at Vermont Law School. So I'm assuming we can gather that this guy is an expert in his field. And so, yeah, with CQ Researcher, rather than seeing, articles that are coming from individuals who are working for a university, they often will go and hire their own writers to do the in-house work. And, but these people are not just, regular people off the street. They are certainly experts in the field. But if you want to know exactly what qualifies them as an expert, you can go to this About the Author feature. So, with CQ Researcher, it's great for developing an initial understanding of what information is available on a certain topic, and certainly other directions to go. So again, this isn't like a traditional academic article that you might see on other databases. It is certainly, I think, easier to navigate, a bit more accessible, and so definitely an option if you are exploring a more current topic for any one of your projects. All right, let's return to our PowerPoint and discuss the lecture assignment. So, using the considerations we've discussed, I'd like you to perform a search using CQ Researcher that will help you develop your material for your current project. After you've done that, compose a brief write-up about 75 words detailing your research process using CQ Researcher and discussing the implications your results have on your current project. This is kind of an informal research narrative. So I basically want you to say, okay, went on to CQ Researcher, bypassed the hot topic buttons, and just went straight up to the advanced search. Here's why. These are the terms that I looked at, looked up, and here were the years that I isolated or that I searched for, and however really you approach it. And this is going to vary from one person to the next based off of the information that you want to find and that you would find valuable in your own work. And then discuss how it will basically help for your current project. Maybe you find that there isn't a lot of information on your topic, and maybe you want to switch things up a little bit. Maybe you find that there's a lot of information and you came across a number of great ideas and now know how you're going to support your argument or better develop a perspective that you're writing on. So with that being said, Again, you can sort of see this as a research narrative based off of your experiences using CQ Researcher. All right, everyone, so that does it for this lecture. If you have any questions or if there's any content that I can speak to further, please feel free to contact me. All right, everyone, until next time.